I love this topic. The 7 disciplines of human resources. You know, I've always considered myself to be kind of a mentor, you know, helping people understand what human resources is. And a lot of people come to me and say, hey, I want to get into human resources. I want to work my way through. How do I get started? Where do I need to begin? And it's interesting in all these years, I've slowed myself down and realized I first need to help them think through that question of how do I get into human resources? Because what people don't realize is that there's actually 7 different disciplines built in and around human resources. Now, 40 years ago, when I started in this field, it was personnel. We were the personnel office, and there was a personnel manager. Over the years, it has evolved, and human resources itself has become very, very specialized and strategic in some of its disciplines. And so I thought it'd be really good for us to just kind of talk it through, because I think some of you are going to have a stronger appreciation for what's involved in human resources if we start with this. Human resources involves most commonly and most identified as talent management. Individuals who bring in, they do the recruiting, they do the screening, they do the hiring, the onboarding. It's managing people. And many recruiters who specialize in talent management are probably really, really good at what they do. I mean, they should be. But that's all they do. They bring them in and they put them in the appropriate positions. They screen them. They talk to them. They work on getting them familiarized with the jobs. But then their expertise ends. Talent management is its own pocket, just as employee benefits is its own specialty and discipline. When you think about employee benefits, I want you to think about ERISA. ERISA oversees 401ks. It oversees medical benefits, dental, vision, ancillaries. Employee benefits is normally held by or handled by an employee benefit broker. And it takes some of them to actually have to have very specialized licenses to do employee benefits. But employee benefits still falls under human resources. And many generalists have to know a little bit about employee benefits for open enrollment, for helping to track down claims that aren't being paid, or questions of eligibility, qualifying events. So employee benefits is a very important part of human resources, but it's not everything. How about compensation? Compensation, when I was working with the hospital group, we had our own compensation analysts who did nothing but evaluate the pay scales and the pay grades and what our competitors were doing in terms of how they were paying RNs, or how were they paying phlebotomists, how were they paying the surgical staff. Compensation also involves individuals who specialize in payroll. They know the payroll laws. They know the Fair Labor Standard Act. These individuals understand the guidelines of wage and hour. And they're really good at determining whether people were paid properly, exempt, non-exempt. You've heard me talk about that. Compensation, finding a really good compensation person who can put together a sales program or a commission plan is really hard to find. Really hard to find. But if you want to get into human resources and you like numbers and you like crafting wage structure and that kind of thing, compensation's a great place to start. Then another really common area of human resources is organizational development. If you specialize in organizational development, you're talking training. But even more than training, you're going to be focused on employment assessments, personality assessments. You're going to be talking about skill assessments, competency assessments. You're going to be talking about succession planning. Do we have people as backups? If this person leaves, who's going to take that individual's place? Are they properly trained? I sometimes even think that organizational development people have a much bigger impact on performance evaluations than we give them credit for. If I see a department that's not producing well, they're not efficient, they're struggling, an organizational development specialist, especially when it comes to communication, is a great addition to a team and can help a company out tremendously. But it's its own specialty. Then we've got employee relations. Employee relations is what I consider the fifth discipline of HR. And this is the group that wants to make sure that the culture is in a good place. Someone who's focused on employee relations is going to be really, really concerned about the diversity of the team. Now, I know that overlaps a little bit with talent management, but this is somebody who's going to be looking at how they're communicating. How are we moving and collaborating? How are we in terms of just overall morale? Employee relations could be considered the social directors of the business, but we don't have time for that. We've got to stick to business. But employee relations is where a lot of people gravitate in HR. And I think sometimes people think of more of that as HR than they do compensation or organizational development. You can't forget safety. Safety would definitely be number 6. Safety is without a doubt an area or expertise of human resources. Think about it. It's OSHA. And whether you're a manufacturing firm or a jewelry store, there are issues and areas of safety concerns in every environment. In fact, the OSHA General Duty Clause requires all employers to provide a safe and secure workplace. So safety, someone specializing in safety within HR would be very, very in tune with safety meetings, workers' comp, safety training. What exactly are we doing to stay safe? PPE, just doing overall reviews of the fire extinguishers, or making sure that we're training our new hires on just good, solid workplace safety practices. I had an individual, one of my very first interns that I took on, looked at me when she came in. She said, I really want to get into HR. Of course, I've never done any HR. And ultimately, I want to specialize in safety. And this was a manufacturing firm that I put her in. And it was cute. The more she spent time on the floor and dealing with all the safety issues, she pulled back and said, I don't think I want to specialize in safety. I think I want to do more employee relations. And I am so proud of her. She's now part of the team at the Ohio State University in the HR department and doing extremely well. I'm so proud of her. But again, she started with one discipline and realized she actually kind of liked the other one better. And then the very last one, number 7. I know you're saying it. I know you know what's left. It's compliance. Human resources can't go without compliance. And the crazy part is that when you get people like me who focus and absolutely are passionate about compliance, well, it sometimes takes so much time to be an expert in compliance that you don't have time to keep up with compensation. You don't have time to necessarily worry about whether we're going to have a party for this holiday or we're going to give everybody an assessment for their competencies with a new task at work. We tend to be, as compliance people, tend to be so focused on all the different laws and all the different arenas, state and federal, that are changing what we can and cannot do in human resources, that it has to stand alone as its own discipline. But seven, and for those of you who are out there who call yourselves generalists, did you realize you had to wear all these different hats? I mean, a generalist is just that. You've got to know a little bit of all of that, the 7 disciplines of human resources. But then that's why this show exists, is to give you those tools and to keep you abreast on all the different areas in human resources. I'm glad you listened today. Oh, and by the way, to our loyal listeners and followers in Dayton, Ohio, thank you so much. Your comments, your feedback, it just invigorates me. So thank you for watching and listening to the Human Resource.